Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here for Coffee with the Mayor on January 13th of 2023. It's the first one of the year, so Happy New Year to everybody. I do have some guests today. I have Dan Groot from Stoughton Health is here, and Dan Kieser from the school district, and Sarah from the chamber. So we're going to start out by talking about Stoughton Hospital and Stoughton Health.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be back in person, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and no masks to boot. So we've got a couple things I just want to share with you that are going on at Stoughton Health. We've seen continual growth in the number of specialty services we're able to provide the community. Things like we now have independent podiatrists working at the hospital. We've expanded our surgical program. We're looking at the recruitment of a second orthopedic surgeon. We've got increased urology services, we've got cardiology services, and basically we've got 10 pounds of flour in a 5-pound bag. It's not efficient use of space, and it's not good for patient flow. So we are looking at a pretty significant campus renovation expansion plan on the hospital campus. And I just kind of want to walk you through this. This is, if you remember, this is the Dean Clinic here, right? We're all familiar with that. Well, what we're looking at doing is adding initially a 2-story addition in front of the Dean Clinic facing Main Street. And this could be built to a 3rd story in the future if we need it to be. One of the reasons we want 2 stories at this time is there's a lot of future changes coming in healthcare. And a lot of your insurance companies and payers are now expecting us to do surgical and procedural work in ambulatory surgical centers. They will no longer reimburse if they're done in a hospital surgical OR. And so the first floor of this is going to be shelved, but it's going to be built in a way that allows us to build an ambulatory surgical center in the future. So there's all kinds of unique code requirements and things that you have to do. And it will connect via a subterranean walkway to the main facility. So that will allow for flow, supplies, staff, whatnot. The second floor, the second story of this is going to be 2 things. It's going to be a specialty clinic in which we're going to take all of those docs who are scattered everywhere across the hospital, and we're going to put them in one very nice, efficient clinic. So if you're a patient, let's say you're a patient coming to us today and you need to go to the podiatry clinic, you're going to be on the 1st floor back here through X-ray to the back side of the ED. But if you need to go to the general surgery clinic, you're going to go up to the 2nd floor, cut through the infusion center, take a left, hang a right. Okay, that's not good. It's not good for our patients. It's not good for wayfinding. So we will have all of our specialty physicians housed in the 2nd floor and the back side of this building, so that there's one destination. A new entry point, you come in, you go to your appointment, you leave. You don't really have to traverse the hospital at all. Additionally, what we're going to do is create a new rehab center here, combining rehab services, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and cardiac rehab, and we've started a new pulmonary rehab program. Because like it or not, 20% of us are going to have long COVID. And those patients are perfect patients to have pulmonary rehab begun again, to try to help them restore their respiratory function. And so the intent would be that you'd have some beautiful views of Main Street, a lot of ambient light. You'd have that rehab space in the front side of that addition. This will be parking here, and then we'll have to add some parking up here to make sure we have appropriate parking, employees over here, and then obviously patients here that want to use the new facility, and then parking up here for patients that need to go to the hospital. So it's we are at the point where where 2 schematic diagrams are coming to 3-dimensional. I hope to bring, like, next month, if I'm invited back, some actual pictures of what this thing looks like, because it's going to be a beautiful new facility, and we're really, really excited about it. So that's kind of what we've been working on. We actually started working on this in 2019, and then a little something happened between then and 2023. So it feels really good to dust this thing off and get going on it again. So with that, I'll just take any questions you have about that or about anything else, really. Yeah.
Who funds the building of this?
The building of this?
Yeah.
Part of it will be paid for in cash out of earnings. Part of it will be paid for through debt.
No, I want, is it Stoughton Hospital, is that like Dean Care or, I mean, who pays for it? What-
Stoughton Health pays for it.
Stoughton Health?
Yeah. We're financially totally separate from Dean and or SSM, quite frankly. So, yes, this will be funded by Stoughton Health.
You guys are a nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit, correct. Oh, and the other kind of exciting thing is, we're gonna be able to start going to solar energy with this project. So this rooftop and the exposure, the first assessment, gives us enough exposure to reduce our draw of electricity by about 30%. And we're one of the biggest consumers of electricity in town, so that can reduce our carbon footprint of the same, and actually reduce our cost of energy. So it's really a no-brainer, and we're going to start to implement that with this project. And probably kind of look at additional ways to start to create that sort of green energy to power our facility. Yeah.
You got 3 other boxes on there. Can you explain what those are?
This is property that we own. This will have to be connected to the current parking lot. This is property that we own. This is property that we own here. So it's just denoting what parcels that that Stoughton Health owns. And you can see there's some neighbors that we have that are sort of adjacent to or interwoven into the
Do you
campus.
have plans to buy those up?
And as per our most recent conversations, there's no desire to sell.
Yeah. I want to just give you one perspective from town. I live in that east side neighborhood there. It's a historic neighborhood, and it's under protection, not protection, but it's under the National Register. The area is not necessarily individual homes, but I would like to see it expand up as opposed to out any farther than you already are. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion.
Okay.
And there's a lot of sentiment to that out there also in the community.
Well, one of our challenges is if we're going to continue to be an east side anchor employer as opposed to going greenfield, we're going to have to navigate those things.
Right, and expansion up, in my opinion, would be the way to go. You got all these 10-story hospitals in Madison, no reason you can't do the same thing here.
Well, let me get, for example, if we went up another story on the hospital, we'd be in excess of code in terms of the maximum height from grade. Also,
Code per what? City ordinance?
the height of the building. Yeah. Also, it costs twice as much to build to institutional code, which you have to do
I
if
understand.
it's touching the hospital, as it does to build to commercial code, business
Yeah.
code. So there's a lot of nuances in
Yeah,
this.
and there's also nuances in expanding into historic neighborhoods too.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hi.
What is your goal for completion?
Probably 2025.
And when do you expect to break ground?
Either end of this year, prior to the hard winter, or just coming out of the hard winter, early spring of next year.
How will this change, or will your affiliation with SSM Health change at all?
Not at all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You know, just on one point with that, Dan, and to let you guys know, because all these clinics and specialty doctors are coming in, if you're not seen by the doctor here, and you need some kind of procedure, always check if you can go to Stoughton, because your doctor may not automatically suggest that. They may say, go to Madison. I just was at the doctor this morning, and I have to get a procedure, a test done, and that was the first thing. I'm like, well, send the referral to Stoughton, because they won't do that necessarily. so.
That's a
it
good
is-
point. I just
In
went
and
through
out.
that myself recently where I needed a minor procedure done, and automatically the referral went to Madison. So I contacted my doctor and they were able to get the referral and take care of me at Stoughton Health, which is much more convenient. They do a great job. Everybody's friendly there. So, I think that's a really good point to make. We like to keep our business local, and sometimes it's just easier for some of the clinics to direct you in another direction. But if your insurance covers it, and I think Stoughton
Yeah.
Health takes most anything.
Court, Steen, 165 different insurers.
So thank you for that, Sarah. Next up is Dr. Keyser.
So Dan to another Dan. And when I first came in, Dan reached out to me and we had lunch, and one of the things I'm really looking forward to expanding as we look at future programming, particularly at the high school, is getting students out of the classroom into the community and being able to, especially with the expansion in the healthcare field, this will provide a great opportunity for students to job shadow and do internships and so forth. Today, for the slide, if you wouldn't mind being my clicker here.
Do that.
Just want to provide the group here today with an update on what's happening with the referendum. Thank you so much for your turnout and support. I think well, it's been a while since I've been here, and so I keep reminding myself, have I thanked the group that I've been in front of? So if I thanked you already, I'm thanking you again. If I have not, thank you for the support. We've had the highest turnout and a really good, strong commitment from the community in support of these capital referendum projects. The slides that will be, the next slide, we are in the process of, thank you, in the press release. We are having meetings with architects. In fact, just prior to winter break and coming out of winter break, the architects and the construction company, so EUA is our architect firm, Findorf is our construction company. They've been doing systematic walkthroughs through all of the buildings. They're at the district office today finishing up that tour so that we can start to plan out what that scope of work is going to do. And so part of that work is we have a lot of people that we need to connect with. And so part of the next slide here is, thank you. What is education for us? The architectural design process really goes into four segments, and we are in that first segment right now, which is design the schematic. That is going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 months. This will be when we actually take the boxes, kind of like what Dan was showing, that we're going to go from a box to actual, this is how the layout, where mechanicals are going to go, and so on and so forth. As we start to meet with teachers, as we start to meet with other groups, we can make some tweaks and changes to that so that the design meets with codes and so forth. But then eventually we get into the design phase. Every step along the way, any changes cost more and more money to make. So it's very important for us to have the conversations up front and make sure that if there are any concerns or questions that we get them put on the table. And then the idea is that at the end of this, we will have our construction plans, which will probably start rolling out this coming fall. So the next slide, we have our timeline. Again, this timeline is generic right now, and as we go through each of the phases, there's going to be more detail to each of this. As you can see here, we're starting right now, and it's going to look like the end of the 24-25 school year. We will completely be done with all of the construction projects. So a lot of the what we call behind the walls work will happen first, but we're already starting to order things for like the high school cafeteria because as you can imagine, there's 18 to 24 months wait time for walk-in refrigerators. So we have to know how big a walk-in refrigerator we want at the high school and order it now, even though that project might not happen until the end of next school year. If we wait until a year from now, it could be a whole nother year or two before we get into that process. So this is our timeline at this point. We're scheduled to be done by the end of the 24-25 school year. We are revamping our website. So if you've gone to our website during either the planning process or the referendum process, it's redesigned now to talk about all the construction. So because a lot of this is mechanical pieces, or what we say behind the walls, we want to be able to show to our community what's happening. So you can go to our school district website and you can go to the referendum to see where those construction plans and all of that are. You can also submit questions if we have a general information line. We have a link on all of our web pages, so if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. As we move into the next phase, we are inviting our elected officials to come take a tour of our school district. And so on the next slide here, we have a little bit of information about what we're doing. On the 31st, we have our two new elected state representatives, Representative Jacobson and Senator Spritzer coming, as well as two of our county's supervisors that are going to be spending the morning with the school district. We will take them out to two of our buildings. They will meet with some of our students. They will meet with some of our parents. And then they will finish the day with the school board. And it is part of the same process that the mayor's talked about before in terms of building awareness of Stoughton as a destination and all that we have to offer. And one of the things that we're doing in preparation for that is we've been creating little one-pagers or bright sheets in the PR world to talk about not just the district, but each of our individual buildings. And so we brought a sample of what one of those looks like, just talking about the district. These will live on our website, but we are also planning a launch at the end of February where we are going to invite business partners within the Stoughton and Stoughton area community to hand these out. I would like nothing more than to see in our banks, in our realtors, in our construction, in our insurance places, information for new families who are going to be buying these new homes that are being built, to see all that we have to offer so that they can tell their friends where they're moving and all the things that we have. So I've been keeping Sarah and the mayor in loop with what we've been doing and talking about this at chamber events and lunch and learns, and so I want to share it with the community here today. If you have ideas or thoughts of how we can continue to spread the word, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then at this point, I'll open up for any questions or comments that people have. And feel free to take those with you.
All right, well, thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
Next up is Sarah Ebert from the Chamber of Commerce.
We typically sit, but today we're gonna stand. So I will stand too. I don't have a presentation, but I thought I would just do a recap of this past year and then talk a little bit about the events that the chamber hosts. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with chamber events. There's a lot of events in town. We're not all a part of them. So I thought I'd go through those. We had a very successful year last year. We didn't have to do any modification. It got back up to where they were in previous years. And one of the main requests when businesses join the chamber, it's good to network and meet other business people, but they want to give back to the community. And volunteering at our events is one of the biggest ways that they do. So it's really heartwarming that they'll say they need to meet people, they love Stoughton, they want to give back and get involved. So our first event that we have, that's a chamber event, it happens in April. And this year it'll be April 13th is our business expo. And I don't know if any have attended that. It's out at the Man Park where the ice rink is. We had last year about 60 businesses that set up little booths. The public can go through. They have a lot of little good giveaways. You can learn about the different businesses in Stoughton or ask questions. So we have that every year. It's well attended. About 300 people come to that. And then we go into May. This year, September is the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So if you ever wondered, and I never really knew this either, it all depends where the 17th of May happens. If it happens before Wednesday, then it's the weekend before. If it happens after a Wednesday, then it's the following weekend. So this past September was early. So this one is later. Very happy, gives us another week to get ready for it. That is by far the biggest event that we have. That is by far the biggest event that we need volunteers to help pull that off. They're both chamber members and community members that help us with that. And then we go into July, we have a golf outing every year. And that's at the end of July, July 25th. And every year the chamber will give back a $500 donation to, it's usually a nonprofit or to a cause. This past year we did it for training for the new police dog. So that was fun to do and get a little information about the dog. And if you ever have the opportunity to hear about it, it's really interesting on where they pick the dog, where the country, where the dog comes from, the type of training, the new dog handler. And they're in the process of doing ODIT. They're training him right now. In August 19th this year is Coffee Break Festival. And as we all know, we're the hometown, or where Coffee Break has started. So that's a nice one-day event, starts in the morning, gets done at 3 o'clock. We have, the tasting of the coffee, there's a small art fair, and then there's also the big car show. Unfortunately, last year it rained, so not a lot of cars came out in the rain. I never realized until I was part of it how, I'm not into cars. That's a very big deal. People take that very seriously. So unfortunately, the weather wasn't that great, and a lot of those old cars, don't want to come out into those kind of elements. October, at the end of October, we don't have a date yet, but we have a wine walk, which is a lot of fun. They sell out of tickets every year. You get a ticket. Our different businesses downtown host a sipping stop, it's called, and they'll have a red and a white that's highlighted there. You can each take it's just a little pour of one or the other. You get to see the town. This past year, it was a perfect night outside. The downtown was just lit up. It was people all over. It's really a fun event to get out. November, we just finished up the Children's Business Fair that was held at the middle school this year, where kids from ages, I think, 4th grade to 8th grade, they set up a business, they create a product, and then it's they set up and it's open to the community to come and visit and purchase things. So those are the chamber events. Non-chamber events. Maxwell Street Day is not a chamber event. That is, nobody's really in charge of Maxwell Street Day. It just kind of happens. We'll advertise, we can put out on the calendar that it's happening, but we're not in charge of that. Victorian holidays used to, once upon a time, used to be a chamber event. It doesn't. Nobody's really in charge of that. It just, people have different things that they do, we have the fire truck parade. That's when the Rotary Lights, get started. And there's magical singers go downtown, but that's not really put on by any particular person or group. There's, downtown trick-or-treating is not a chamber event. What happens is the chamber The Norwegian dancers always have a performance. They have a Halloween costume. The chamber does that. And then the kids start, after that's done, then they can go downtown and do trick or treating. So that is just up to the businesses that want to participate. So just a little information. The other thing, and you guys that I didn't give these to, I handed out right in the beginning, we have these little Stoughton stickers. And part of the chamber, we have my coworker Callie, she's in charge of the events, but she's also in charge of Visitor Stoughton. And if you read the Hub, she did an editorial a few weeks back about what is Visitor Stoughton. And her job is strictly to get people from outside of town to come to Stoughton, and that's funded by a hotel tax. So it's not us taking money away from what the hotel would typically make. It's a tax that's in there that funds these efforts to get people into town. So if you've seen billboards, she has a few billboards out. She puts ads out in surrounding publications. So you're not going to see them here because we already have people in town here. It's the surrounding places at visitor stations. In the surrounding areas, we have Stoughton guides for people to come in. She's the one that created these cute little stickers. So if you haven't have any, I have a whole pack that I can give you one. So that's her job. So that also falls underneath the chamber. So, anybody have any questions? Anybody want to volunteer for setting them eye? We have button booths. I'll take your name right now.
I do have a question about, I think I read in the paper, the weekly paper, about a little downtown like a mini chamber.
There is
just to try to help promote downtown. Are you affiliated in any way?
No, that is separate. It's called the Downtown's Merchants Association. It's just getting started up. It's strictly, they have a perimeter of where that falls. But I know that's gone back and forth. I think it starts up by the hospital, and I know it goes down as far as Associated Bank. It's just for retail spaces. Some of their goals are very, very specific to just retail downtown stores. So the chamber represents businesses, all businesses in Stoughton. So we're the broader overall. We do have a downtown promotion committee because we have so many chamber members that are downtown, that if they want to offer an opportunity, if they want to get together, talk about it, plug into it. So the association itself is a chamber member, but we do not represent all the businesses within that association. So it's just like a Rotary. It's a non-for-profit organization. They're just getting started, so actually I am not familiar with all the details, and that would be something that you would have to reach out to somebody that's a part of that. Sure. Mm-hmm. Good question.
Any other questions for Sarah? All right, thanks for being here today. And then I have a few slides I can walk through, give you an update on what's going on in the city. And if you have any questions, just let me know along the way. First thing I want to do is just remind everybody that we do have new ways to get information from the city. WSTO, who is here today broadcasting the meeting, has done some things to make it more user-friendly as far as the apps that you can put on your phone to watch this or any of the other meetings or events that are going on in Stoughton. I know they've been out in the field, especially around the shopping season with many local businesses, trying to let people know what kind of shops have opened up and what services they can get in downtown and throughout the community. So there's many ways to get information from the TV station. We have been doing a council catch-up on most of the meetings, especially the long ones. So you can watch a replay version that we tape that really highlights the city council meetings in about a 15-minute format, so you don't have to sit there and listen to 2 to 3 hours of grueling conversation at a city council meeting, much like watching an entire school board meeting. Sometimes you just want the quick version of it, so we've tried to do that so people can become more engaged. We have been broadcasting The Finance Committee meetings live, that's something that we started middle to late last year. Obviously, we want to be good stewards of your taxes, so to be more transparent and help people become more informed on where your money's going, we do broadcast the Finance Committee meetings, and those are typically the same night before the City Council meeting. Generally at 6 o'clock, sometimes they may start a little earlier or a little later depending on the length of the agenda. We used to do a print publication within the city of Stoughton, the Tower Times, and unfortunately our vendor was not able to continue providing that service to us. So what we've gone to is a digital version of that called Around the Clock, which we produce internally. You can see it on our social media account, on our Facebook account. If you wanted a paper copy, we could certainly make arrangements to get you one. You would just have to let us know at City Hall that you would want something printed out and picked up. So those are ways that we're trying to re-engage the community on the events that are going on. One of the other things we've been doing is we constantly try to improve our website to make it more user-friendly. And we are working on some testing for our packets that support our meetings. Right now you have to download them in Adobe, and for some people that can be somewhat cumbersome. So we do have some pilot tests that we're doing, so you wouldn't have to download it. So when you go to do the packet, they would automatically be downloaded for you. So we're working toward trying to have a consistent way to do it amongst all the departments. We have, I think, 30, almost 40 committees, and we would like to have some standard ways of doing some things. So if you open up a city council packet, you would do the same way as you would for a Rivers and Trails Task Force packet. Next one, there's been a series of meetings that have been going on with the Department of Transportation. There was one last night out at Good Shepherd Church. I saw Larry there, and the DOT was updating the folks, particularly those that live in the town of Dunn and closer toward McFarland, about what to expect here in the next few years. Really, there's 11 different stages of this project. The dates that are on here are subject to change depending on funding. They are programmed, which means that the dates that are on here, they know they have the funding to begin in those years. But if additional funding became available, some of these dates could move up. Notably for Stoughton area would be 2 more roundabouts. One would be at the intersection of Rutland Dunn Town Line Road, which I can show you on the next slide. That would be up by the new development here. That one would be scheduled for 2026. And then the other one would be at the intersection of Highway B and Highway 51 near the Stoughton Health building out there that used to be the bank. So those 2 are scheduled for 2026. There would be another roundabout on Highway AB. We all know that's a bad intersection, and I went by there last night and saw a close call there as a vehicle was turning off. That one originally was going to be done in 2026 as well, but much like the Roby Road intersection, based on feedback from us and based on their accident rates, they moved that out of this corridor project and put it to their safety committee, and they were able to move that one up to 2024. So we're really happy about that because a lot of people have been getting hurt at that particular intersection. So we continue to work closely with the DOT on their design. They're at about a 60% design right now, working toward a 90% design. And along the way, we've tried to incorporate things like wider sidewalks, 10-foot sidewalks going all the way up to Highway B for pedestrian and bicycles. They can use them instead of being on the road. We have an underpass that's scheduled to be installed north of that Rutland Dunn intersection to make it safer for people that will cross from one side of the street to the other, because we're going to have at least 2 parks initially, and perhaps a third, and maybe someday even a 4th park between there and the Highway B. So we want people to be able to cross the highway safely. We are working also to reduce the speed limit all the way down to 35 miles per hour, all the way to County Trunk B as part of this construction to try to slow traffic down, especially around the roundabouts. So this is kind of a work in progress, but certainly we're encouraged that we're going to get our roads done. There's going to be several enhancements on the highway, especially turn lanes with medians in there, so there'll be clear separation of lanes for turning. Some of them will be offset, so if you're turning left, you'll have a better sight line than you might normally right now. And as we get into the details, we'll continue to share that information with you. This is the development out on 51 West, and you've probably seen the apartment building going up there. A couple things that City Council and the committees have been working on are the parks. We have a park on both sides of Highway 51. The park on the east side where it says Phase 1, which is Outlet 6. That park has been named Eggleston's Woods Park. That was approved Tuesday night, and you can see that the trail system that is in that park will connect to the Virgin Lake Trail and then go north to the Linroot property, where we would expect that to connect when that property is developed as well. So we've also completed master plans that are going through the approval process, and the master plans really talk about the amenities that will be in those parks. So on the East Side Park, we're looking at having a bicycle repair station. So if you're on a bicycle, you need air in your tire or something happens, these repair stations also have some wrenches that are commonly used to fix your bikes along the way while you're riding on the trail. We're looking at having a restroom there and a few other amenities. On the west side, where it says Phase 3, which is outlet number 3, that park is being named the Greg Standard Park. And that particular park, we would, looks like we're gonna have a shelter there, and there'll be kind of a green space that could be used as kind of a multi-use field. So if you want to go out there and run around and throw a ball around or kick a soccer ball or something like that, you could do that, as well as a sport court that could be used for basketball or pickleball and those types of things. What we try to do in our parks is make them flexible, so different users at different times of the day can use the park, and then make sure that everything that we do going forward and going backwards is to make them all ADA accessible for those that have mobility issues. The housing that are going to be on these developments in the orange, those are duplexes, and some, if not all of those duplexes, are going to be zero entry. So they're really designed for all people, but especially people that have mobility issues to get in and out of there. So we want to make sure that the amenities in the park serves the needs of the folks that are going to be living there. Next slide. This is just kind of an aerial view of what it looks like on the east side of that park. You can kind of see in the area here by the trees and the woods there. So that's kind of where the park area is going to be. And you can see that the roads in the future will extend into this next field out here that we refer to as the Linroot property. This is Kettle Park West. And just an update on this, we periodically have conversations with them. Right now they have a half a dozen single family homes that are being built there. There's plenty more that can be built. One of the things we're a little bit concerned about is the rising interest rates. We're hoping that come spring that'll kind of settle down again. So more people will be in a position to build homes out there. But there's plenty to choose from at different price points, so we should see quite a few single-family homes going up in this area in the next several years. We also have conversations with them about some of the commercial lots, and we anticipate some of those being developed in the spring. particularly the lot that will serve the Popeyes out by Dunkin' Donuts. Here's an example of one of the homes that they're building right now. And this one is through Lennar, who is a nationwide builder. This is another development that we've been working on, and this is what we call Magnolia Springs, which most people refer to as a Tigan Farm, and this is south of town. If you take 4th Street out where it connects with Taylor Lane and Ocker Road, Magnolia Springs, most of these would be single-family homes in the yellow, and then the orange would be duplexes. So we're still going through what we call the platting phase of this. And the platting phase basically really narrows down the sizes of the lots that will be built in here. We've already gone through and had Dane County approve the stormwater management plan, which is called the Urban Service Area Amendment. We had its own previously to that, so that work has been completed. So we're hoping that this project will begin in the spring. And we anticipate these homes here will probably, I don't know, be somewhere in the $350,000 to $400,000 price range, which, believe it or not, is the going rate for a starter home right now. But we think that, you know, this might offer some opportunities that in a price point that we currently don't have. We're also talking about some development on the east side, and this would be the Matson development, which is known as Stonecrest. And basically, this would be done in phases, and the first phase would be this triangle on the right. And basically, what would happen is we'd extend some of the roads that are currently dead-end roads on the end of kind of down by Racetrack Road. There's like Stonecrest is back there, and some of the roads were there would naturally extend into this area. So they're working through and doing their due diligence, and we're hoping that this project will get started at some point this year as well. We have one new business up on Highway 51. Russell Law Offices is open up there. They've been recently open, and I had a chance to visit them. They're excited to be in Stoughton. They want to get more involved in the community. This picture here, we're still having conversations with Quick Trip on the east side, and they're still in the process of tweaking their site plan. And this is the corner of Highway 51 and Highway N. So you have the Weeble World building here on the upper right, and then the building here where Fastenal and Kicks Unlimited is. And then, so we're working with them, we're working with the county, trying to see if we can put together a plan that addresses some of the safety concerns we had and some of the traffic flow issues that we already have that we're trying to improve. So what we're looking at doing here is creating, when you come in here, currently, if you were gonna go to Fastenal or Kicks Unlimited, you'd come in this driveway here, which we call an easement, and then you would come in here and kind of circle around down the side and the front of the building. It's really tight coming around this corner here, especially when there's an event going on the weekend. And so as part of the improvement, what we worked with Quick Trip is to try to have the road come in and then kind of tee off to the right here, so the traffic that's going into this other building can be diverted and have a straight shot into the parking lot. And then also have some exit points out on Cedar Brook to get back down to N to kind of reduce the congestion here. They would plan to have the gas pumps in this northern part here, and then the Quick Trip store itself, the loading dock and the car wash would be in this southern section here.
Mayor,
Yes.
you can't see your cursor
Oh, okay.
up there, so I don't
So
know if you
then
want
we
to
go
go
up here.
stand.
Yeah, so currently vehicles come in here and they come down here, and like I said, it's pretty tight right in this area here when you have two-way traffic. And then what we try to do is divert some of the traffic and create a new easement coming down through here so they have a straight shot in. And then when they leave, more than likely they could go out this way, or they could go out this way, or if they wanted to, they could go this way, although I don't think that would be the most efficient way for them to get in and out. The gas pumps would be up here. This would have like a speed bump here that would be striped for people that would be walking across to get to the store, which would be right here. So we're still working on the design with Quick Trip, working with the county to see what this intersection would look like, and possibly trying to slow the speed down here as well. There is a hill here that some of the neighbors have been concerned about the speed anyway. So we anticipate we'll be continuing the conversation with them at the Plan Commission in February. We did have a public hearing Monday night, and nobody really showed up to speak. There was a couple people that said that they'd be willing to speak, but they're gonna wait until the February meeting to share their comments. This would be a much larger store, and Quick Trip is really at a decision point on their east side store right now. The tanks that are underground that hold the gasoline are at a point where they're gonna have to be replaced. And you know, when they're looking at the return on their investment to replace those tanks, they would rather put them in a new location where they could generate more money, a bigger location that would have more options. For gas, they would be able to have diesel there. Currently, they don't have diesel on the east side store. And then, you know, the whole store section, you know, they really have become almost a mini grocery store. And I know that people on the east side, you know, it's kind of what we call a food desert, I think is the term they use. And obviously it's not a grocery store, but it's kind of the next thing to it. And this could help promote some other growth on the east side, and maybe eventually the traffic counts will get to a point where, you know, the east side could support its own store. The traffic counts that we were looking at, I think it was about, I want to say 8,000 cars per day in this area, whereas when you get on the west side of town, the car counts are somewhere between 14,000 and 16,000 cars a day. So that gives you an idea, and who would have thought that much traffic comes through Stoughton? But we do have traffic studies on all the areas of Stoughton. They generally do them when they're doing the road projects, but they also do them when they're looking at putting together their market study for these projects. They don't just say, okay, let's throw a dart at the dartboard and see if it sticks. They actually do some research to see what location would be, you know, the most profitable for their operation. M.E. Roth continues to move forward on their building out in the Business Park North. You can kind of see on the right side there, that's kind of the warehouse area, and then there's a couple little frames on the west side of the property there where their corporate headquarters is kind of just starting to be framed out right now. They're hoping to be open sometime in the fall for the distribution operation. This here is an updated chart, and it's probably kind of hard to see. We're still working on the River Park project, and right now it's kind of in the DNR's hands. They're reviewing comments that they received from the Army Corps of Engineers, from people that sent them feedback, as well as our responses to those comments. All that information is on our website right now. We did, in our latest design, add a feature that would act as a dam under low water flow conditions to help minimize the amount of the water level drop at all phases of the river going upstream. And the DNR is doing their due diligence to see whether or not they can, you know, approve this project. We anticipate between now and the approval process that we would have another public meeting where people can come out and learn more about the project and share any thoughts or concerns that they may have before it's finally approved. If everything goes the way we hope it does, probably within a year from now, we would begin construction down there on the river.
Mayor?
Yes, you have a question?
I live in the, on Stoughton, in the Stoughton, Venable
Yes.
area, and there's the nice river walk along there. And the river is quite wide there, because there's extra flowage there. I think it's sort of north of railroad trestle.
Yeah,
And I'm wondering, you know, right now it gets kind of stinky when the water gets low. You know, there's a lot of algae and just extra plantings and I'm concerned that if the water keeps dropping with these changes, that's just gonna get to be a big sea of muck unless the DNR or the county, because I understand the city doesn't own that area, is that correct? They don't own the path?
we have a trail down there. The waterways are really owned by the state,
Yeah.
you know, the state of Wisconsin. So there's a couple things going on. There's our project, which the river part of it, our project will help the water flow a little quicker. And we believe that the water temperature will drop, which will help with some of the things that you described, the algae, and that's in the river portion. I'm not 100% sure about that area that you're speaking of specifically. The county is doing some work as well, and we have County Supervisor Engelberger is here, and he can, you know, maybe help direct some of your questions regarding the work they're doing on the dredging. So what the county's trying to do as part of their Suck the Muck program is in the river channel, they're going in and they're getting rid of the sediment that's been accumulating probably over the last hundreds of years, and a lot of that is coming from phosphorus runoff. It could be from leaves, it could be from fertilizers in the farm fields. And what they're trying to do is remove the sediment and then also you know, get rid of the weeds. And they have a huge initiative that they've been working on in the Stoughton section from basically Highway B down toward Cooper Causeway is expected to be started in the spring. And that'll help get the water flowing, but I don't know specifically how that'll impact your area. We could certainly, you know, give me your phone number or email, and I can certainly follow up on that and see if there's any impact. The way the chart reads is, I would focus mostly on this section right here. If you go on our website, this is the section that shows the water flow levels. Normally the water flows at 350 cubic feet per second. And what the chart shows is under normal conditions, the water level at the mill pond under the current proposal will drop about 2 feet. Originally, when we were going to take the entire dam out, it was going to be 5 feet. So with the new design, we're leaving the base in there so we can still reach the height we need without going all the way to the river bottom. We can go to the top of the cement platform that we're going to leave in there. So that minimized the drop in the water level at the dam. Instead of 5 feet, it's going to be 2 feet. And then in the low water flow at the dam, which right is 150 CFS. Originally, it was going to go down 2.9 feet, so almost 3 feet during a drought condition. And with this new feature that we're going to put in, it's only going to drop just over a foot. And you know, the water levels will fluctuate anyway based on precipitation. So if you want a lot of water flow, you hope for a lot of snow and rain. Otherwise, you know, you get a drought like we had a couple of years ago when you're at these lower levels. So the new feature we added is basically, it's a pneumatic, it's like a balloon that they blow up, and as the compressor kicks on when the water level gets low, and it lifts it and it holds the water back, similar to what a dam does. So that helps with the water level, and then also it helps with one of the features we're going to have is a surfing wave, which has become really popular. And then by having the water flow up, that helps the surf wave extend the number of days that's available to be used, because if there's not enough water flow, there's not enough circulation in the water to create the wave for you to use. So that's basically the area of the chart. There's two charts. I focus on this one because this is basically the spring through fall chart. This one here is the winter chart. Well, nobody's really using the river for recreational use in the winter anyway, unless you're ice fishing. So to me, this isn't really as relevant as this one here. And in this particular section, you can show the improvements in the water levels with the gate up, basically is what it says. So that's what we're trying to do to address the concerns about people that are on the river, especially those that are upstream that are concerned about the water level. Any other questions about that project? Is that too much information, or? I try to keep it as simple as I can, but these things are a little bit complicated. The other thing I had on my list is we do have a sustainability committee, and they're going to be doing a survey. And I have a copy of a flyer here. They have one on their bulletin board. You can QR code scan it in your phone if you do that with your technology. And they're going to be doing a direct mailer here. And they're working with collaboration with Stoughton Utilities. So in your Stoughton Utilities bill in February, we anticipate you'll have 2 surveys. One will be with the Sustainability Committee. They want to get input on what you feel is important as far as what we should do, not only the city of Stoughton, but our residents. You know, is it important for Stoughton Health to put a solar panel on their building? Should the city encourage and support those efforts? You know, are there ways to educate people, you know, to recycle more and things like that? So they want to get your feedback on that, and you can look for that survey in your utility bill. And then there's also going to be a survey in there as well from the Park and Recreation Department. And we're doing a feasibility study for a potential new park, and that would be, let me pull it up here, out on the land that I referred to as a Linneroo property up here in this north property. That land has been sold, and one of the things we're going to be doing there is a large park. So we really want to get some input from folks on, you know, what we want this park to look like. It'll be kind of up in this area here, and we're just looking for ideas. We know what we have in our current parks. This will be more like a community park, you know, instead of a neighborhood park. A neighborhood park, you know, are ones that are around your subdivisions, are usually, you know, a couple acres. This one will be, you know, possibly 20 acres or more. So it's more like racetrack park or man park. So it really gives us an opportunity to do some bigger things. So one of the things that we're doing is working with different stakeholder groups in the community to really have an understanding of what we want to do out here. So you can look for some surveys in the mail, and some of you might be on the focus groups as well. If it's something that you're interested in, let me know. I can pass your name on to our Park and Rec guys. So there's going to be a lot going on again in 2023. We're excited about the work that we did in 2022, and we know that there's more coming, and we just really want to make sure that the community is informed and that they can give us some feedback on what's important as the city continues to grow. Any questions on anything? Sure.
But back to the east side and Quick Trip,
Yep.
I live down Amundsen also.
Okay.
Any rumors or facts on that old abandoned car wash?
I know I talked to the realtor a couple of weeks ago, and there's been some interest in possibly using it as a car wash. There's potential that we could rezone it and do housing, or we could do some other commercial. And certainly, if you want to talk afterward, if you have some ideas as a neighbor, what you would like to see or not like to see down there, I would be certainly happy to talk to you about that.
And is the Quick Trip move a done deal? I mean, is it definite that the one we have will disappear and go over here? or-
Nothing is definite right
Nothing?
now. What they're
Okay.
trying to do is they're trying to go through the approval process. They came to us a couple years ago, and we received some concerns from the neighbors there. And what they've done now is they've come back and they've tried to address the concerns in this plan, but it would still have to go through the plan commission, the city council. It's not approved. And they just want to know one way or another, because they're going to have to upgrade them tanks and make the, you know, prepared to do that. You know, as a neighbor in that area, I'd be interested to see what, you know, what the rest of the neighbors, especially in the Venable, because right now, you can walk across the street, although it may or may not be that safe. And this certainly is a little further away. Is there a question?
Yeah, the tanks, how many years do they have left of use on the gas tanks out there?
I don't know the exact, but I think it's with maybe a couple, I'm gonna say.
So it'll,
Yeah, and then what they would do is if they were to get this approved and build this, then what they're required to do by law is basically remove the old tanks, work with the DNR, go through that process to make sure that, you know, any contamination is removed and that it's monitored if need be. So there's a whole process to go through with that to make sure that whatever else would be built there in the future, you know, would be done safely.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
How many homes in the Ocker Road subdivision would ultimately be built?
Just over 100, combination of single-family homes and duplexes.
And I heard an exciting rumor that Jung is going to be coming into the Stoughton Garden Center.
They are. They've leased out the building where Stoughton Garden Center was. Yeah, Jung's Garden, and as of the first of the year, so we're hoping they'll be up and running by the spring. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think that'll be a welcome sign. I know a lot of people were really kind of bummed out when the garden center, but you know, they put in a lot of great years and they felt it was time to retire, so I'm happy for them as well. And I think they still retain ownership of the building currently, so they're leasing out, and if Jung's does well, we'll see where it goes. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it, and I know Dan and Sarah and Dan do as well. And then we'll be back here, I believe it's February 10th. And it sounds like Dan may want to come back in February. We'll see if the schedule works out, but we'll keep you posted. All right?
Thank you.